We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We got to add a little addendum to the show map today. So we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. It always has been, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since the beginning. The government has been getting bigger.
Hey guys, what's going on? Jebb here, and welcome back to Coffee and Crypto. This is your morning show where we bring you the latest and greatest in the cryptocurrency markets, 10 a.m. Eastern every single weekday. This show, we are going to be talking about how the Bitcoin crash is punishing weak hands. We're going to be discussing where the bottom is, how we should be appropriately looking for the bottom here on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, and what should we do moving forward? Should we be FOMOing into small little bull traps? Should we be funding out of the market? Probably neither. We're also going to be bringing you some updates on the Vasil upgrade going on Cardano because there's been a development there, and we're going to tease a story that we're going to be discussing with Plan C with on Friday here on this show. We have a lot to bring to you today. We're going to bring you the latest on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency technical analysis, look at the fundamentals. We're also going to look at some on-chain metrics. We're going to make sure you guys walk away knowing exactly what's going on in the cryptocurrency space so that you are prepared for your day here in the crypto landscape. I am joined, as always, by TA Tim. How you doing, Tim?
What's up, everybody? I'm excited. I got a new camera angle. What's up? What am I looking like, guys? Is this a better angle? Do you guys prefer the other one? We'll see. But I got a new tripod for my camera over here, so it's interesting. Can you even tell a difference? That's another thing. I can tell a difference. I'm looking like almost a foot higher to the camera lens, but I don't know if people can tell or not.
I cannot tell a difference. Actually, no, I think I can tell a difference. I think I can tell. Yeah. We look the same height now. Good job, Smay. Speaking of Smay, how are you doing, Smay?
Hello, everybody.
I can see your hair. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm not wearing a hat today. I'm doing, as usual. I'm actually feeling I'm feeling pretty good today, just physically. I feel really good today.
That's good.
So that's good. But I would like to take this opportunity, now that I feel good, to read some green names. So those green names include, or may and may not include, Elliot Locke, Mitch Shaw, Crypto Alchemist, Groovy, who else we got here? Adam Rourke, Groovy again, Crypto JMP, Grand Roofing Incorporated, Siobhan Golay, YU Loud, Dennis Pizarka, and then I'm going to say these ones as Jordan Peterson. Agent Gold,
Siobhan Golay, Elliot Locke.
Just Ray. Oh, anyways. I'm kind of losing it now.
We should all talk like Jordan Peterson.
Some people the other day said that you sound like Kermit. You know who I thought you sounded? I thought you sounded pretty
Jordan
good.
Peterson are the same person.
But you also sounded like the guy from Looney Tunes from Mars. Martian?
Yeah, the Martian.
Marvin the Martian.
Marvin the Martian.
You kind of sounded like the Martian.
I've kind of lost it now.
How do you
can't really do it
I forgot.
anymore.
I don't remember how you talk like him.
It sounds like that. It sounds like that.
It sounds like
all I eat is beef, water, and salt.
Water and salt.
Yeah.
I help my daughter with her podcast. No, it's really funny. Jordan Peterson knows full well he sounds like Kermit, and he's right. It is like, you need to clean up your room and you need to start eating more lobster. That's what you need to do.
It depends on how riled up you get him. The more riled up he is, the more riled up you get him.
He only eats beef, water, and salt.
I only eat beef, water, and salt.
He wouldn't tell you to eat lobster.
He wouldn't tell you to eat lobster. Well, you need to study the lobster so you'll understand.
You sound like Kermit.
I sound like, I sound like freaking Jordan Peterson.
No, you don't. You don't sound anything like Jordan Peterson.
Anyway.
He sounds like Kermit. Tell us in the chat, do I sound like Jordan Peterson? Anyway, guys, we have a lot more to talk about than just whether or not Jordan Peterson sounds like Kermit, which he does. Jordan Peterson has admitted it. Would love to have Jordan Peterson on the show, by the way. He's been talking about Bitcoin lately. So if any of you guys know Mr. Peterson, I read his book, 12 Rules for Life, several years ago. Definitely recommend that book. Definitely like him as an author and would love to have him on the show. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to remind you guys that something amazing happened yesterday. Club DeFi finally went into open beta. What does that mean? Well, guys, we have been working on Club DeFi for the last 2 years. We have been developing this product for you guys so that it would be everything that we wanted CT2A to be, but it just couldn't be. CT2A was the brainchild of what I had built in my bedroom 4 years ago, and there were limitations to it. There were only so many videos. There was not constant updating. There was not a community around it. There was not one-on-one coaching. There were not office hours. There was not Q&As. There was not a full-time customer service. None of that was in CT2A, and you guys still loved it. It was still one of the greatest education products that we've ever had in the cryptocurrency space. We took everything that we learned from 4 years of running the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy, built Club DeFi with it. I want to see some hashtag Club DeFis in chat, because instead of paying $400 up front for CT2A, which was a vastly inferior product, now you can pay $30 a month for Club DeFi, and you're going to get about 100 videos in there right now. We're uploading new content monthly. In fact, a lot of times weekly. There's 96 lessons in there right now in the subject of trading and technical analysis. There's one-on-one coaching about to go live. We have office hours where we bring different teachers from Club DeFi to a space where you guys are able to ask them questions. We have a Discord server. We're constantly adding new content. And the whole point of it is to teach you guys how to actually properly trade and invest in cryptocurrency markets so that you can go forth and find financial sovereignty. We want to help you change your destiny with Club DeFi, and we firmly believe that you are going to be able to do so much easier with Club DeFi than without. So make sure you check it out. Link is in the description box down below. Kelly's in chat. He's been working very hard on some of the content over there. Very, very, very big thank you to Kelly. Love to see some love in Kelly's direction in the chat. But let's go ahead and jump into our market pulse. Let's look over here at, well, we're going to look at Vasil, and then we're going to have a little bit of a teaser for something we're going to be discussing later on in the week. As you guys know, Vasil is one of the major updates to Cardano, and it was slated to come out a little bit later this month, but today, June 20th, yesterday, June 20th, it was moved back, and it looks like Vasil is going to be moved back about a month as the team at Cardano, at IOHK, and IOG, Input-Output Hong Kong and Input-Output Global, have decided that they want to give Vasil 4 weeks on a testnet. So you might look at this and you might say, well, that sucks. Now Cardano's pushing stuff back. But the thing you have to realize is that Cardano and the Cardano project and the team behind Cardano have always had a philosophy of build it right the first time, no matter how long it takes. That's literally what they are all about. Tim has been in a room with Charles Hoskinson. I've interviewed him. I know the guy. That's what they're going for. They want to make sure that they are building it right, because when you're building a protocol that is holding tens of billions of dollars in valuation, hopefully one day in the future, hundreds of billions, trillions of dollars, you got to get it right. You can't get so caught up on getting it done now that you don't get it right. And what's going on here, a month delay, could be discouraging for some people. But I would encourage you to remember that a month delay to build it right when you're building new things is a much better improvement than something like what's going on Ethereum, where we've been working on trying to get Ethereum to proof of stake over on Ethereum 2.0 for the last 3 years. And that's not even Ethereum trying to update and blaze new territory, blaze new grounds. That's Ethereum just trying to catch up with its lackey right now, as they would look at Cardano and say, hey, look, Cardano's worth a 15th, a 20th of what we are, but they've got better tech. So Ethereum, it's taking 3 years to get caught up to where Cardano is. Cardano is delaying a month so they can build new technology, groundbreaking technology, correctly. I'm much more in the camp of the way that Cardano is doing their development. Again, I've told you before, I'll tell you again, I have more Ethereum than I do Cardano. It's important that you know that, because I'm not trying to shill Cardano and just say don't buy Ethereum. I think they're both great projects, but as far as tech is concerned, I do think that Cardano has the lead. But of course, Ethereum does also have the lead on first mover advantage and adoption, and that's big. That's very important. So don't forget that. But anyway, for anybody who's interested in Cardano development, that is an update for you.
That last night, after that report came out that Jebb was just referencing, Charles went live and he actually kind of explained this. And again, anyone can do with this information whatever they want, but he reiterated that they love what they have. They actually think they're ready to go, but there's a difference between a project that they think is ready and what they want to be ready. So, for example, you don't want to get into a car that the person who made the car thinks it's ready. You don't want to get into an airplane that the engineer thinks the airplane's ready. You want to make sure that they know it's ready. So it is launching here in like, I think a week or so, but it's still going to be in testnet. They want people signing up to use it and ask questions and to test the bugs, because when they launch it full force later in July, they don't want to have any problems. They don't want to have to shut down. They don't want to have to keep people out. They want it to be humming as it goes. And the other cool announcement he announced in that video last night is that they're going to start taking signups for this fall for an everyday person, no matter who you are, to get more involved with the creation and demand of what Cardano is doing. So whether you want to pledge money to build teams that can operate, or whether you have a skill set that you want to come on and help the Cardano team build further things and develop things in the Cardano space, they're opening it up for the entire public, because to them it is all about changing the world through proper decentralization. They do not want it to just be a one-man show, a one-group show. They want the entire community involved. So it was really cool video. If you didn't watch it, go back last night, go to his Twitter page, watch the video. It's about 15 minutes long. it was a really super cool video about what is coming in the future, Cardano. It made me excited. Some people don't like that it's delaying a month. Fair. But for me, I'm willing to wait, and I'm super excited about that future.
And the other thing is, we are now very much in a bear market. We're going into a crypto winter. You think it's gotten bad so far. There's going to be more and more people that leave the crypto space. As we talked about yesterday, more people are going to start saying, okay, I was strong hands, but now I'm scared and I'm going to leave. Or they're going to FOMO in at the wrong time and they're going to buy a dead cat bounce and they're going to lose 30%. And then they're going to say, okay, I'll come back in 5 years or never. And there's going to be a lot of sideways movement over the next year, I would definitely wager. So as that goes on, Charles Hoskinson himself has talked about this. It is a great time to build because you don't have anywhere near as much pressure from the community to get the price to go up 1,000% every month. You have the ability to say, hey, look, yeah, I know the price hasn't moved in 6 months. Great. You know what has? The technology's moved 6 months forward. And Cardano does build very quickly. Anyway, Cardano's not the point of this stream. We did just want to bring you that update. If you were enjoying today's show, I need you to do me a favor. Smash that like button. We've got 1,200 people watching. I am so very thankful for all of you tuning in today. Thank you guys so much for that. Hit that like button. We're at 190 likes right now. I know that we can get to 300 in the next little while. By the way, also, thank you to all of the hashtag Club DeFi representing over in chat. Go tell 10 of your friends about Club DeFi. We're about to change the game for education in the cryptocurrency space, and we know the impact that education has because it took me several thousand hours to learn what I know in crypto. Tim has done the exact same thing. He's put his couple thousand hours in now. He's been in crypto for about 2 years. He's been busting his tail learning. And both of us, along with our team, have been building Club DeFi for the last 2 years. There have probably been 20,000 hours of labor that have gone into Club DeFi. There are 8,760 hours in a year. There's been a lot of work going to Club DeFi because we genuinely believe that education is the gate and key to your future in crypto. Sign up today. Tell 10 of your friends. Now, Tim, Celsius is up over 100%. Actually, it's up 60% in the last 24 hours. I can show them over here on CoinMarketCap. Celsius right now is up over the last 24 hours, 57.62%, and it's on a drop. Celsius rallied from 80 cents 24 hours, a little less than 24 hours ago, rallied all the way up at 4.09 this morning to $1.55. Why did that happen, and why did Plan C get blocked?
You know, I don't want to give too much away, but the main narrative right now in the space about Celsius is that it is a scam exchange, that it actually was working behind the scenes to just take people's money. And I want to just clarify, I'm not necessarily saying that that's not the case, but the problem is that a lot of times people want to attach themselves to one narrative and never listen to a different one. And there has been another one that has emerged. And that's what I'm super excited about on Friday, having Plan C come on the show, because it does seem like he's the one that's uncovering it. All I'm going to say is that he came out and said things are a little bit deeper than what you might say. He actually also threw out some things about the CEO of FTX, and what he has said about FTX has caused that CEO to not only block him on Twitter, but also publicly come out and say that he had nothing to do with the Celsius crash. Now, I'm not saying he's guilty, but it's very weird that people who don't think that they're involved whatsoever and are completely innocent feel the need to come out on Twitter and justify themselves or defend themselves. It's really interesting. I don't know if Celsius is as simple as many people think it is, but again, you're going to want to come and join us on Friday where we get more and more information because it has been Plan C doing all that work. Anything I say at this point would just be regurgitating some of the things I've seen from him. I would rather hear it from his mouth himself, and I want you guys to hear that as well.
All the more reason to hit that post notification bell because when that stream goes up on Friday, you are not going to want to miss it. We could be breaking some groundbreaking news, $20 million bounty. We're going to talk about that on Friday, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Let's go ahead and take a look over here at the Bitcoin chart, though. Bitcoin currently trading at $21,500. Wonderful, wonderful rally on Bitcoin. I'm just kidding. It's probably a dead cat bounce. I mean, it is great that Bitcoin's rallying, but right now you can see we're in a rising wedge. Bitcoin has broken above a couple of moving averages. For example, we're sitting above, I do believe this is your 200, the 200 hourly simple moving average. We rallied above it just over the last several hours. Bitcoin did set a low on the 18th at 1600 hours, so 4 p.m. in the afternoon Eastern, at $17,600. It has rallied, as you can see, 23% from that in 2.5 days. That's wonderful. The problem is, we've seen this happen a multitude of times. When we initially dropped from $40,000 down to $25,000 and change, we had a rising wedge that we broke bearish out of, traded sideways, then went into a bear flag and dropped again. When we initially broke down, for example, to $33,000 back in January, we had a rising wedge, and that rising wedge, well, it broke bearish, and it did manage to go into a rally. But back then, there was a lot more hope, even from me, that there was going to be a shorter correction and the bull market would resume. That's not what happened, though. People continued to lose confidence and faith in this market, and a lot of people have left. Now, the question that we're kind of trying to figure out here is, where's the bedrock? Queen, I see you in chat. Ever since that stream where I started talking about how there is bedrock in cryptocurrency, you've been saying bedrock present, bedrock present. Shout out to you. Thank you, guys. Represent that. I want us to be the bedrock. What am I talking about? Well, I used an analogy a while back where the wind and the waves and the hurricanes and the water comes and it washes away the topsoil. And the topsoil is going to get washed away because it's not strong, because it's not rooted, because it's not going to stay. You know, you can break up bedrock, but it's very difficult. It can happen, but it's very difficult. Right now, we've had all kinds of storms come into the cryptocurrency space. We've had nor'easters, we've had hurricanes, we've had tornadoes, we've had giant meteor landed offshore, had a tsunami wash away a lot of the topsoil. What am I talking about? Well, we've had rising interest rates, historically rising interest rates, historic inflation, had a conflict in Europe that shut down oil and gas exports from Russia, that shut down the aviation industry for the first time in 30 years since the fall of the Soviet Union, of international global free skies. Ukraine, a lot of people don't realize, makes up a third of wheat production in the world. They're called the breadbasket of Europe because of the Middle East, Africa, and Asia, because they provide a lot of wheat and grain to those parts of the world. Huge. Gas prices up 200%. Lumber prices up 200%. We've been hit by so many storms that, yes, the topsoil is gone. Where'd the topsoil go? Well, a year ago, you know, I watched in the cryptocurrency space. There were times this stream was getting 7,000 views, for example. We would average 3,000 to 4,000 viewers. A lot of our regular viewers aren't here right now. A lot of the people that were here just kind of to come and go, they're not here right now. The people that were just here because they thought, oh, this is cool, I guess I'll play around here, they're gone. They're off doing other things. They're having fun playing Xbox or something. The people that are here right now are part of the bedrock. The people that are here right now, if you're watching this stream, either you are this or you want to be this, you are bedrock. And the question right now is, what price level does that bedrock represent? Does it represent 9,000? Does it represent 12,000? Does it represent 15,000? Does it represent 17,000? Does it represent 20,000? I don't know that for sure. But one of the things we want you guys to know are some of the different levels that Bitcoin can pull back to. But I also want you to keep in mind that Bitcoin's bottom does remain uncertain. So Tim, let's start with you. What are some of the levels that you are seeing that Bitcoin could pull back to?
Yeah, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more later, but there's a couple different things that I'm looking at. You guys, I talked about this on the show a little bit yesterday, a little bit last week, but I got these two different yellow zones on my chart. You can go to my screen, Smay. I forgot to tell you. On the screen, you guys see these two different yellow zones. There's also one here in the middle at 12,000 that is significant, and I can explain why, but we got a lot of different things saying that potentially these zones could be it, and the way these two are coming from is from Fibonacci retracement. If you go back to the bottom of the bear market we had back here in 2018, and you come to the all-time high that we had here within the last couple of months, those levels are significant. They're going to be, this first one right here is the 0.5. As we talked about before, we did break through, and we're hovering back right around 0.382, but breaking through that with confidence, we got down deep into it. The next level on Fib would be that 0.5, and then of course the golden pocket sitting between $9,000 and $10,000. Those are significant, so that is why I have those as very reasonable, even from a technical analysis standpoint. They're very reasonable to say there's a potential that we could go down that low. Of course, going down to the linear chart, when you get that 12,000 prediction in there, by the way, we dropped right now as of 74,000. I'm going to talk about that here a little bit later. That's why it's on my chart. But if we were to draw out our bear flag, and that is going from the top of this all-time high down to the bottom that we had back in January, and then taking that exact same line to the peak we had here, late March, this price prediction puts us down at $12,000. So I honestly believe, Jebb, that there are arguments out there for so many different levels. There's an argument out there, and we can cover this, that the bottom is already in. Is it the best argument? That's up to every individual person. But the arguments for lower prices are definitely very strong, and what I'm seeing as the reasonable ones at this point, not to say that lower is not possible, but the reasonable ones are anywhere between 9,000 and about 15,000. And I know that's a very wide range, and there's lots of different indicators that change where that's going. What we need to wait on is see what the fundamentals do here over the next couple of weeks. But as it stands right now, the uncertainty is definitely still in play. Everybody wants a certain answer. Where is the bottom? When is the bottom? And unfortunately, there is nobody in the entire world who can give you a confident answer on that question.
That's right. We don't have a DeLorean, but we would all love one, especially one of those new ones. Have you guys seen those things? Somebody bought DeLorean Motor Company's brand. Oh, that video, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go look it up. It's absolutely gorgeous. However, I don't currently have a DeLorean with a flux capacitor in it, so I can't tell you what exactly the bottom's going to be, but I can show you some historical metrics to tell you that we are close. Let's take a look at the weekly chart RSI. We'll mention this briefly because we talked about this yesterday. RSI on the weekly chart, and I am looking at BLX, so we're looking at the entire history of Bitcoin's weekly chart RSI, is currently at an all-time low, sitting at 25.92. Let's just do some historical analysis on what happened the last several times that Bitcoin has dropped down to these lows. Even if it didn't go as low as it did just now, what happened the last several times that we had a low? We have had 5 major lows, other than the one we're going through right now, on Bitcoin's RSI weekly chart in history. Here, 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 and here. Well, let's see what they correspond with. The first corresponds with a drop from when Bitcoin was trading at $32. You heard me right, $32 in June of 2011, dropped all the way down to $2. So that was a drop, just to keep you in perspective, of 92%. Yeah, it dropped 92%. That's kind of like Amazon dropping 98% back in the dot-com bubble. Bitcoin would drop 94% back before most charts even show anything up. From there, it would go on to rally 47,000% in 2 years. That's long before anyone in this room and most of our viewers were here. We also saw that we bottomed out on RSI here after Bitcoin had dropped 75% in October of 14. Then we dropped to 85% retrace from all-time high, and that was the absolute bottom. From there, we would see Bitcoin rally another 11,000% in 3 years. So diminishing returns, but still massive, massive returns. Then we get to the first bottom on weekly chart RSI that I was here for. It was in December of 2018. I remember this vividly. This was a very scary time for a lot of people in cryptocurrency. Bitcoin bottomed out after it had retraced, you guessed it, 85% from all-time high, and then it went on to rally 379%. Then we saw the bottom get in again during the pandemic drop. You can see that it happened right here. Bitcoin will go on to rally 1,200% in a year. So this is only the 6th time in history that we're seeing Bitcoin's RSI on the weekly chart go this low. Now, if we look at the monthly chart, we also see something pretty interesting. I'll go ahead and clear my chart here. We are out now at a historic low on the monthly chart for RSI as well. Let's briefly look at the exact same thing. There's only 2 real examples. Well, both of them show up exactly where you would expect, at the bottom of bear markets. And by the way, if you look at the 50 moving average on the monthly chart, which is basically a yearly moving average, you can see that during these times, this also corresponds with when we bottomed out on this moving average. Well, where's this moving average right now? It's sitting right below us here at $21,000. Now, it is possible that we go below this moving average. It is possible that we dip quite a bit below it, but you would think that we would hold at least somewhere in this range. So yes, we could go down to 9, we could go down to 11, we could go down to 12, 13, 15, but likely we would end up ranging somewhere between 12 and 20 for a time during an accumulation phase. And that's another important thing for you guys to keep in mind during this time, is that there will likely be an accumulation phase. Bitcoin's probably not going to V-bottom here. We're probably not going to see boom, boom, straight to all-time high. We're probably going to see something more like boom, bounce, and then trade sideways, or it'd probably be a little higher than that. Bounce, trade sideways, probably somewhere between $12,000 and $20,000 at this point. In fact, I would not be at all surprised to see Bitcoin ranging between the 2 previous tops that we saw form here in January of 17, December of 17, and then also June of 2019. That would be a range between $14,000 and $20,000. This range right here, based on historical precedent, we've been in accumulation phases before between ranges similar to that for 300 days, which is almost a year. We've been in ranges before for 134 days. We've been in ranges before, as we saw here, for a year and a half. It is possible that we could get down here and bounce around between $14,000 and $20,000 until the beginning of next year, or even further beyond that after we have an absolute bottom. So my takeaway is that we are probably going to see an absolute bottom get set relatively soon. As far as the total bottom in price, that's probably not that far away in time. You see what I'm saying? In the 2014-15 bear market, we saw Bitcoin set its absolute bottom at $164.50 on January 13th, 2015, and then it ranged, but it ranged above that bottom because we finally hit bedrock and we couldn't go any lower. We saw the same thing happen here at the beginning of 2019, where Bitcoin would bottom out right here or actually it bottomed out at the end of 2018, but then it ranged into 2019, bottomed out at $3,200, then continued trading sideways. We could probably end up seeing the same thing happen here, where in just the next couple of weeks, we could maybe bottom out 9,000, 11,000, 12,000, 14,000, 15,000, whatever the bottom's going to be, and then bounce a little bit, range as people start to have confidence. Okay, finally, I can have confidence that that was the bottom. Right now, everybody's wondering, where's the bottom? Nobody's wondering, was that the bottom? That's a big difference. When people start wondering, was that the bottom? Then that's going to be when people start having more certainty that they found the bedrock. But right now, we don't know where the bedrock is. So that's where that's where a lot of the uncertainty and doubt is. After we see another cataclysmic drop and everybody, and enough people, I should say, start saying, okay, was that the bottom? Then we're going to have a lot of people change from where's the bottom to, okay, that was the bottom, I'll start accumulating now. And you're going to see the sentiment shift. You're going to see a shift in the sentiment is what I was trying to say. So that's why it is pretty important that we try and figure out when we do see the bottom. Now, we can't predict that with certainty, but after we've seen a major drop, we should ask ourselves the question, was that the permanent bottom that we're going to witness? And Tim, I think you and I would both agree that the bottom is not in. What would you say to that, though?
Again, I would say I don't think the bottom is in, and there's going to be a lot that needs to play out. You know, someone even mentioned in chat, we have not yet confirmed, while most people, I believe, especially on this channel, are kind of already in the place of saying, yeah, guys, we're in a recession. It's happening. Well, guess what? Right now, the White House is still in a good spot, or they're saying they're in a good spot to say that a recession is not a certainty. And there are people that listen to the White House. So it doesn't matter that we are pretty certain a recession is coming. What happens when the confirmation finally hits and those who are still in denial finally have to change pace and say, oh my gosh, we're in a recession, things are going to get rough? There's so many unknowns in the space right now, and it's going to lead into our discussion here in a couple of minutes about that topic. But you know, another thing to think about, and we've covered this before, and I want to be very certain and clear with you guys. We've had to, as this bear market keeps getting worse and worse and worse, continue to update our opinions and update our knowledge of what is happening. But what we're seeing right now, if you go to my chart here, Smay, I'm on the BLX chart, and I'm looking at Bitcoin as a whole over the history of the technical analysis of it. And you guys are going to notice, the reason I'm kind of still sitting with the significance, this might be the biggest bear market we see, and we're not the only channel that's talking about that. There's been several channels talking about that. But let's go back all the way to 2010, where we had this bottom wick right here, going all the way to the top of bull market. So every single one of these is going from a bottom of a bear market to the next top of a bull market. We came down, we did not come down and touch the 0.382 level this first time. Then again here in when we hit the bottom in 2015, again, we kind of got to the middle between 0.236 and 0.382. The one we had back here in 2019, we did come down and touch 0.382, and this next one we broken through. Bear markets are getting worse and worse as we go. This also is a sign of maturation of the market, but that's another reason why hovering between these two levels, I don't think it's safe to say that we are going to say, boom, we have to go lower. And it's also not safe to say that we have already, it's not safe to say we need to go lower or that we don't need to go lower. And the other thing is, the last thing I'll say on the TA front that I do want people to understand is we're going to have a continued season where people are both FOMO'd in and FUD'd out.
Right.
And right now is part of the FOMO in cycle. There's a lot of people looking at the charts right now saying, oh, okay, maybe we just did bottom out. Maybe we are going to go ahead and go back up. And they're going to be tempted as the price starts to rise to buy back in. But I want to warn people, again, we talked about this yesterday, this more than likely is in fact a dead cat bounce. And numbers you guys need to be looking for. I don't think that there's necessarily that we have to drop over the next couple days. I do believe that we could rally. On the linear chart, we fell bearish out of a falling wedge. I talked about this a little bit yesterday, but we're starting to climb back to it. So there's two levels to watch for. And I would love to see Bitcoin climb up to this second level. That would be awesome to see it go back into the 30s. But even if it went back into those lower 30s, maybe even mid 30s, we're still not sitting in a safe zone where you can say, oh, don't worry, the bottom was in, because that's how the market manipulators like to work. They like to give these false hopes to get the retail investors to FOMO in. So the levels I'm looking at right now, and we don't even have to hit these levels, but I'm keeping my eye on, will Bitcoin come into potentially around $25,000 and hit its head on this former support? If it gains some strength, we could see us rally up and again come into potentially those lower 30s. It's not until we start breaking into the higher 30s that I think there might be a case or an argument that we can say with certainty that the bottom was in. I'm not saying you shouldn't enter any trades on the way up. But anyone who says, oh, that's it, the bottom's in, we're rallying, well, there's not actually good evidence to support that claim until you start getting into the mid and high 30s. And that's not the answer people want to hear, but it's the answer people need to hear.
Once enough people are confident that the bottom is in, then the bottom will be in. And that sounds like a tautological statement, like, Jebb, you're defining a statement based on its definition. I am, actually, in that case, because how do we define a bottom? Well, enough people need to believe that it's the bottom. It's about belief. So if enough people don't believe that we bottomed, then we probably haven't bottomed. So I do think that we're going to see a lower bottom, and I have a feeling that the next time we see a bottom, it very well may be the final. And that's actually pretty exciting, because one of the great blessings of this bear market, and then we're going to jump into our discussion. One of the great blessings of this bear market is that it's happened so fast. You might be like, hang on, it's down 75% in 220 days. That's a blessing? Yes. You know how much of a grind it was when Bitcoin in 2018 kept hitting $6,000 and bouncing, and kept hitting $6,000 and bouncing, kept hitting $6,000 and bouncing. What would have happened if we just had gone straight to $3,000 in 3 months? The bear market would have been a lot shorter, and we could have gotten on with it a lot faster, right? I want this bear market to go quickly so that we can start accumulating down here, and we can start making gains. Even if those gains are 5%, even if those gains are going from $20,000 to $21,000, we start making progress. Yes, we took a step back, but that's a bear market. That's the way it goes. We need to come to expect that in crypto. I'm happy about how quickly this has happened. What I would not like to see is for us to bounce above $20,000 for 6 months, for 10 months, for a year, and then drop down to 14K, and then we have to do our accumulation, and then it takes an extra year for the bull market to start. People are going to think I'm crazy, but if we're going to drop down to $9,000, I hope it happens soon so that we can get it out of the way, and then enough people get shaken out, and we can have a market reset, and then we can start moving on. We're going to go ahead and jump into any super chats that we have, though, and then we're going to jump into our discussion.
Honestly, we don't have any super chats, and how we've done this, and I've even watching chat to see if there's any good questions, and not that there's no good questions, but a lot of them are going to be answered here in our discussion portion. So we can actually go ahead and start transitioning this now, Jebb, and we've set this up really nicely. We've set up what we need to discuss very nicely, and that is the biggest question on literally everyone's brain in the crypto space is when and where will the bottom actually be? And right now, there's a lot of uncertainty in the market, as we talked about while we were doing the technical analysis. That is the biggest thing, but what do you do with that? What do you as the average retail investor do with the fact that the bottom of this market is uncertain? Well, there's a couple different details I want to make sure we cover for you guys before we enter into our discussion. The first is that if you're looking at cryptos, we've talked about this before, and other channels have mentioned this as well. It's actually a pretty widespread belief that over 90% of altcoins are more than likely going to die during this bear market. We need to understand that more than likely will happen. However, the good news about that is the majority of those 90% of altcoins that are going to die are coins that nobody on this chat has really ever heard of.
Yeah.
So I want to start by just focusing on what we can see in the top 20. And if you were to go chart by chart, I actually went and did the math, and if you guys want to check me on it, you guys are more than welcome to go in and do it. But the majority of even the top 20 coins are already more than 85% down from previous all-time highs, even many of them being more than 90% down from all-time highs. So this actually right even there is kind of a bullish sign that we are getting super close with these top 20 of there's not really that much more pain that they can get into. Not saying that they can't go lower, because they absolutely can, but they're getting pretty darn close to where it's like, how much further down can we go without the coin actually dying? The ones that haven't got there, though, are Bitcoin. Bitcoin's down a little bit, I think closer to 73%. Ethereum is not quite into those 80s just yet. Binance is not there. And then FTX's ticker symbol FTT, their coin, it is not down. It's actually only at 73, I believe. Or I think Bitcoin's at 74. I think FTX is the least down from all-time high, sitting around 73. But with the exception of those, every other coin in the top 20 is massively, massively, massively down. Now, when people are polling this on Twitter, there's actually a Twitter account called Bitcoin Archive. Many of you guys have heard of them, but he literally asked, has Bitcoin bottomed out yet? And this is the public response. There were over 17, pushing close to 18,000 votes. 50% you will see say it will go lower. And I think that's the sentiment definitely of Jebb and myself. It's the sentiment of many of you. But what's interesting is the split between the other two is, 25%, or close to 25% said the bottom is already in, whereas the other said, I do not know. So even right now in the market, whereas I still think there's an overwhelming feeling that the market's going down, let's just even pause and think right there. Those are signs of bottoms right there, that the majority of the market is at least in a place of not knowing what's going to happen, if not saying, no, we're going to go even further. And as we've discussed in previous shows, and we've discussed on this channel many, many times, these are signs of bottoms, because when the feeling is that bearish, when people are that afraid, we saw a 6 recently, the last couple of days on the Fear and Greed Index. Those are sometimes the best buy symbols of the bottom. Now, I want to pause there because I'm not trying to say with certainty that it is, but I do want to kind of stop right there and talk about Jebb. We've discussed this a little bit in the technical analysis portion, but what is the range that you have heard about bottoms, and what do you think the proper range for realistic expectation is about where the bottom is? And the follow-up question to that, I know I'm asking a lot here, but in your history, because you've been in crypto longer than any of us here sitting in this room, what has the feeling of like this been in the past bear cycles?
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. So the first thing to keep in mind is that the bottom is still extremely uncertain. We don't know exactly where the bottom is going to be. That's something we've been talking about quite a bit. We do hope the bottom comes soon. And there are a lot of different opinions. As far as different bottom opinions out there, as we talked about earlier, we have 9,000, we have 11,000, we have 13,000, we have 15,000, we have 17,500, which we just hit. I would be more inclined to move towards the lower end of that. And the reason for that is, in my experience, I've been in crypto for almost 5 years, and whenever people are calling for bottoms in a bear market, it's almost always on the lower end. And in a bull market, whenever you're calling for tops, it's almost always on the higher end. I remember when Bitcoin was breaking $20,000. I'll be honest with you, I had no confidence it was going to go to $65,000 in 3 months, but it did, in 4 or 5 months, but it did. I was thinking, okay, maybe we'll go up to 30,000. Maybe we'll hit 40,000. Maybe by the end of 2022, maybe we'll be at 50,000. Or maybe we'll be at 100,000 because it'll go parabolic. But I didn't think it would go parabolic that quick and then flatten out. I thought it would go kind of slow and then all at once later towards the end of 2021. So in drops, I remember in 2018, I made the mistake of thinking, hey, 6K is the bottom because we're bouncing. What I learned from that was we were bouncing, except there were people calling for 3K, and I thought, no, there's no way it could go to $3,000. That's way too low. So when I hear people say $9,000 at this point, because we've dropped so much, I wouldn't have said this a month ago. I would have said $22,000. And the reason I would have said that is because at the time, that was the crazy low prediction. At the moment, I could definitely see Bitcoin going down to $9,000. And you don't even need to jump on my chart for this, but I can just give you part of a reason why. If Bitcoin did go down to $9,000, as crazy as that sounds, $9,000, actually $10,000 would be an 85% retracement from all-time high. The last 2 bear markets, Bitcoin retraced 85% from all-time high. I don't think we would stay down there low. I think you'd be looking at a wick down there and probably a very quick bounce up to $14,000, $15,000 because, as people have talked about in chat, if you get Bitcoin down to like $1,000, not saying it's going to happen, I don't think it would, you could have one billionaire come in and buy out most of the supply of Bitcoin. If Bitcoin did start getting down into the 4 digits again, then we would almost certainly see some massive institutional players come in and buy up so much Bitcoin it wouldn't even be funny. And that's my point here, that when Bitcoin does finally hit its bottom, and we do have some confidence that the bottom is in, you're going to see power players coming in, and they're going to say, okay, the bottom's in, now we're confident on that. We're going to buy Bitcoin at $14,000, and we're going to see that. So we're in a similar situation that we've been in the past. Right now, we are in capitulation. We are in, believe it or not, the final stage of a bear market. We are about to, in my opinion, in the next 2 to 3 months, probably sooner than that, enter accumulation. After a bear market ends, you go into a period of accumulation and you trade sideways for a time as people rebuild their confidence and people shake off the wounds of the massive bear market that they just went through. People start to get more confident. People start to see little tiny higher highs and higher lows. We make 10% progress to the upside. We move back 7%. We make 13% progress to the upside. We move back 8%. Volatility in this time is actually very helpful for the trader because it means that the investors are accumulating and the traders are making money off of the range that's going on there. However, the uncertainty as to whether or not we're going to go lower or that we're going to go into a bull market is bad. So the longer that we are in that accumulation, the less uncertainty there is because the more time has passed since we had that bottom, and the more likely people are to start investing and hodling again, and that's what will start kicking the market off. I think we're going to have a shorter accumulation phase this time than we did in 2015. There was a year and a half. I don't know that it's only going to be 3 months. It might be longer than that. But during this accumulation phase, you're going to have a lot of institutions coming in and buying up the dips on that. So that would be my take on that, Tim. But
yeah. And here's the thing, that take that Jebb just gave is beautiful, and it's really encouraging for a lot of these newer people to the space. And I want to clarify, when I say newer, I'm actually going to go ahead and include myself in this because I believe that we actually, in reality, should be talking. We say the word new, we talk about people who've been in the space for a year or 2 years. Doesn't mean that they don't have experience in certain things. It doesn't mean that they don't know. It doesn't mean that they don't know anything. It means that they are still newer to the space. We have not walked through a bear market before, so it's always really, really good to hear people like Jebb, to hear other people who have been in the space, listen to their words of wisdom, learn to act on it. But here's the deal, Jebb, Have you pinpointed every single bottom and every single top of every market? No.
Nope.
And nobody has.
I can normally tell you when it's overextended in one direction pretty well, though. But I can't tell you the exact price.
And my point there is I'm going to say what very few people are willing to actually admit. And this is really what it is. We are so scared of the uncertainty. We are so scared we're going to miss out on opportunities. Right now, I believe the average retail investor is stuck, and I mean stuck, between a place of FUD and FOMO, and there's fear sitting there that they do not know what to do, and they will actually, rather than sitting and being calm, they're going to freak out and start making moves, because it's really easy to listen to things that Jebb just said and say, okay, fine. I'm going to wait. I'm going to hold. I have some money I want to put in. I'm going to hold off, and I'm going to wait for these lower prices. But even the question there starts to well up inside of you. Well, what's the lower price? Am I waiting for 15 and I'm getting in? Or, well, if I get it at 15, but then we drop to 12, oh, man, I just missed that. Well, we go down to 9. And then there's the case of, oh, what if all this is wrong and the bottom is already in, and now we start to rally, especially as we start to see this dead cat bounce go. Well, is it a dead cat bounce? Is the bottom in? Are we starting to rally? I don't want to miss out on that. And you're going to see these newer people get stuck between FUD and FOMO. And no matter what encouragement comes from influencers and people of experience and people who claim to be experts, there is going to be this constant wrestling and hurt. And that's the significance of that the bottom is so uncertain. It is a scary situation to be uncertain because newer people are going to be stuck between FUD and FOMO. And guess what's going to happen? As the title of this whole video suggests, people who didn't even realize that they were weak hands can become weak-handed people. Do you want to elaborate on that whatsoever? What are your thoughts about even that sentiment and what you would say to people sitting there?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, anybody can become a weak hand at any point for any reason. Something happens in your life. Okay, I didn't invest more than I was willing to lose then, but hey, now I got a $250,000 medical bill, and that cryptocurrency investment I have looking real juicy. I might be down 70%, but I kind of need the money in that. Anybody can become a weak hand at any point for any reason, and that's something we need to keep in mind, is that that's always going to be the case. But as you were talking about, Tim, that question in people's mind, was that the bottom? Is the bottom going to be lower? That's actually a very toxic question. And if enough people are wondering, was that the bottom's probably not in yet. And the reason is because they're all going to be either selling because they're freaking out and fudding, or if they think the bottom was in and it goes into a little rally, then they're going to go into a long position, get liquidated, then they're going to lose some money, and then they're going to either leave the space, they're going to get discouraged, or hopefully they will learn their lesson and then they will not do that again and they will grow. But sadly, and this is what we're trying to change with Club DeFi, a lot of people aren't going to do that. A lot of people are just going to leave the space because they throw their hands up and they're like, I quit. It's been going down and to the right for the last 240 days. I give up because they don't have an understanding of the why Bitcoin. Here's the point. Once Bitcoin gets to the point where its bottom is agreed on by enough people, that's when the bear market will be over. That's when a bull market will start. We had a certain way that we called a bear market. We said, I need to see it break market structure and set lower highs and lower lows on the daily and weekly chart. It did that. The day it did that, we called a bear market. Now we can look back in history with the benefit of hindsight, say it started on November 10th. However, we couldn't have done that at November 10th. We had to get confirmation. I can't tell you exactly when the bear market is going to be over, but I can tell you when I will know that it's over, and that's when we're seeing higher highs and higher lows on the time frames, and we're seeing the sentiment shift to an overwhelming consensus of agreement that the bottom is in. That is not here yet, which is why I believe that the bottom is lower. But Tim, I know we have some different metrics that we want to look at to that as well.
Yeah, we're gonna jump in those just a second. I think someone just in chat said it perfectly. Chad just said, geez, Tim, you're stressing me out. Here's the deal. In case you were wondering, I meant to stress you out. Why? Because any good doctor knows sometimes you got to have a conversation with a patient where you let them know they have cancer. That is not an easy conversation, and that is very stressful. But good doctors, they first tell you what is wrong, and then they lay out the plan for you so that you make sure that you know the recovery and how to handle it. So that's the whole thing, is we're going to set you guys up, and we got a little bit more. We're going to look at some data points. But just if you are like Chad, if you are sitting there saying, I'm going to be honest, I said it, this is the thing that most people will not verbally say, but they are thinking internally. I am stressed out. I do not know what to do with this. There is fear. I don't want to miss the bottom, but I also don't want to miss the rally. And so how do I handle this? We're going to answer that here in just a second, but there's some other metrics we got to look at here that are very interesting in the crypto space. So first of all, moving to kind of on-chain stuff, there's an article over here by Decrypt saying that Bitcoin investors, you can go to I don't know if you're already on my chart, but Bitcoin investors lose a record $7.3 billion in 3 days. So let's pause right there. That is scary. Again, as we're starting to think through this, we can continue to say the bottom is in, and then things will happen where the price keeps going down. And retail investors do not like seeing this. They do not like seeing that their money is depleting. We need to continue to have a plan. But let's look at some of the on-chain metrics that are talked about in this this article that I think are really significant. The first one I want to come down to is right here, and this is unrealized loss in the market. So this chart, let me see if I can click on it and get it a little bit bigger. Boom, boom. Didn't realize it was a Twitter feed. There we go. Come bigger for me. There we go. There we go. So the point of this is that if you've looked at other bear markets, we come down to a place where greater than 50% of the market is actually still in profit, meaning everything above here, you're staying in profit. Everything down here, there's very few wallets still in profit. Generically, bear markets will see anywhere between 40 to 50% of the space be in a place where it is still profitable, leaving 50 to 60% of the space that people who own Bitcoin are actually sitting in unrealized loss. And the dip that we had here the other day, because this is a little bit aged, it's not up to date right now, we came down just barely to touch that 50%. So that is I want to stop and kind of give you the bullish side. That is a good sign. We are getting into that area where they're defining what the bottom of bear markets look like. Because right now, as much as that sucks for the people who are in the 50% side that are in loss, as we continue to lower those numbers of people who are realizing that they're actually still in profit, that is giving us a closer sign to actually becoming clear that we're in the bull market. So that's the on-chain metric I do want to set up. We're going to talk about that here in just a second. Another article, another thing that people have been clinging to for hope is, of course, the S2F model presented by Plan B. But recently, Vitalik Buterin, he actually responded to this because in case you guys haven't been paying attention, it is a little bit off track. Even Plan B has admitted, yes, we're a little bit below the bands that we thought. And Vitalik came in and said, stock to flow is really not looking good now. I know it's impolite to gloat and all that, but I think financial models that give people a false sense of certainty and predestination that a number will go up are harmful and deserve all the mockery they get. Pause right there. We're going to respond to a lot of different points in there, but I want to ask you as the audience, do you agree with Vitalik Buterin? Do you disagree? What are your thoughts? But we did have a response from Plan B where he came back and he didn't outright just refute what Vitalik said, but he did make a good point that after a crash, some people are looking for scapegoats for their failed projects or wrong investment decisions. Not only newbies, but also leaders fall victim to blaming others and playing the victim. Remember that those who blame others and those who stand strong after this crash. And he went on to say in this article, he talked about, yes, I'm going to go ahead and read it for you guys because I don't want to misquote him, but he did kind of admit there's a chance that it's not going to be, S2F model is not going to work. But in an earlier tweet, Plan B admitted that the model has had a good run for 3 years until March of 2022, but has deviated from its trajectory as of now. As such, the analyst said that there are two possibility conclusions from the current landscape. Either Bitcoin is extremely undervalued and will bounce back soon, or the S2F will be less useful in the future. So let's kind of sit on that. Jebb, I want to ask you, now that we've asked the audience, and we're probably going to see some answers in chat, do you agree with Vitalik's tweet about how the S2F was actually dangerous, that people should not be putting out those predestined prices to give people hope, and that he deserves anyone who does so, pretty much is what he's implying, deserves mockery that follows if they failed?
Well, absolutely not. I don't think anybody deserves mockery. It's definitely a very wrong thing to mock somebody for any reason, even if they've done something that you could mock them for. Mocking somebody is not a good thing to do. We believe in the Word of God here, and we don't think that that's right. So, no, I don't believe that they deserve all the mockery they get. That's not going to get us anywhere by attacking each other and being tribalistic, and I do expect better out of Vitalik, being one of the biggest thought leaders in the entire cryptocurrency space. But, you know, I'm the chief of sinners on all of that. I've definitely done my fair share. So I'm not saying that I'm guiltless on that, but I am saying that we should not be mocking people or encouraging people to mock others. That doesn't help us at all. That's not very loving. That's not very kind. That's not what we stand for at this channel. So that part I'm going to push away and say, no, that's not right whatsoever. And it is impolite to gloat and all that. As far as financial models that give people a false sense of certainty and predestination, I would ask Vitalik. Vitalik, I have a lot of respect for you. I think you built a great project. I think Ethereum was the foundation of everything we know in the decentralized application and DeFi ecosystem. That being said, how many times have we had an announcement about Ethereum 2.0? How many times have we had an announcement about when sharding is going to come online? When we've had an announcement about, oh, the gas fees are going to get lower. How many times have we had an announcement about that? So should we be attacking you and your project, Ethereum, for your models about when development is going to come out, and because they're giving a false sense of certainty and predestination of when a launch is going to happen? I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't attack Vitalik for saying, hey, we want it to be out this time, and then getting pushed back. Things happen. I get that. Things change. But at the same time, let's not attack a model that says this is where we could be, because if we're attacking the model and not the person reading the model, then what we're doing is we're taking the sovereignty off of the individual, putting it on the model. And if somebody gets misled by the model, then we're blaming the model and not the individual. Look, if I come on this channel and I say, look, stock to flow says we'll be at $100,000 and we should be there now, so we're going to $100,000. And you listen to me and you believe what I say and you didn't think for yourself, then I made a mistake by not presenting it the right way and reminding you to think for yourself, and you made a mistake by not thinking for yourself. So I don't think there's anything wrong with having models and data and predictions. We need to put the impetus on the individual to not try and offload our critical thinking to other people. I think that that's one of the toxic things in cryptocurrency, in all of society right now. And if we all followed the Lord, then we wouldn't be in that space because we would know that we need to listen to the Spirit, not to everybody else. We need to listen, I suppose, but we don't need to have other people making our decisions for us unless that's the Spirit of God. Now, here's the point. There's nothing wrong with a model. If we're not doing the critical thinking ourselves and we're trying to cast blame on others, then we are giving away our sovereignty over our finances because all of a sudden we're set. If I'm blaming Smay for a decision that I made, then what I'm doing is I'm putting the responsibility on him, giving him the sovereignty over my finances, and then I don't have control over him anymore because I gave it away. I can't do that. I have to keep that here where I can control it. The sovereignty needs to be on my own shoulders so that I can surrender that to the Lord and I can get guidance on that. If I don't do that, then I'm not walking in a very productive way. So I wouldn't say I agree with Vitalik, no.
No, and I think this is a great transition as to now we need to answer this question. What do we do with all this information? What do we do with the fact that we are like Chad, that this stuff can be really stressful? And whether we want to admit it or not, some of us like to put on a brave face, but what we're in right now is stressful. There's so many good things in the market. This is the greatest time to be investing in crypto because we're more than likely, we are close to the bottoms. But here's what we need to walk away with and we need to know. Just like what Plan B said, we need to stop looking for scapegoats. Too many people look for scapegoats for their decisions. And the whole point of crypto, the whole point of DeFi, the whole point is that you take back control over your money. That doesn't mean you blindly follow people and just do whatever they say. It means you continue to up your education and your space so that you can make informed decisions. But what you got to do is make sure you have a plan. And that's what people need to be taking away. If you're sitting here saying, man, I am stressed, I don't know what to do. Well, the first question I would ask you, and I'm sure Jebb would ask you the same, what is your plan? Did you have a plan? We've talked about this before. If you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. That's what you need to do. But to plan correctly, you need to know that you have options. And there is something really interesting coming. I want to get Jebb's take on it. And we're gonna go a little quickly through this because we want to transition to the rest of our show. But recently in the news, we actually have a new option for a lot of different people. ProShares is to launch the first US short Bitcoin linked ETF on June 21st. This is going to be very divisive. This is going to be, there's some people that want to touch this, some people that don't want to touch this. But what this opens up is for people to continue to educate themselves, and it gives them one more option to make some money. And that is to actually, through a brokerage, short Bitcoin. And I know a lot of people are going to say, don't short Bitcoin. It's like, well, if you have a plan and you set that plan and you know when to short and when to long, as you educate yourself, those are great. And this option just gave one more tool to the toolbox of what you can do to make money. But Jebb, I want to hear what your thoughts are about this, that we now are going to see a short Bitcoin ETF here happening on June. Well, it's actually today because it's June 21st.
I was about to say, I think that just broke very recently.
Yeah.
The thing about that is, we've had short futures for a long time. We got them in 2017, and a lot of people talk about how, oh, we saw that happen, and then that very day was when the market absolutely collapsed. I wouldn't attribute that in the same way a lot of people do. I would say that what we really need is a spot ETF, not a short ETF. We need a spot ETF. So, yeah, is this going to have a giant impact on the market? Yeah, it is. People are going to short the market on it. But people could short the market anyway. I honestly don't know how much of an impact this is really going to have. Hopefully, it will help the argument of getting a spot ETF approved. Is this approved, or are you saying this is being applied for?
According to this article, I think this is actually being approved, and this is going through. And there's some cool things here. Again, you can have whatever opinion you want of it. There are going to be some people who say, I don't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole. There's others that say, this is an awesome tool to add to my toolbox. And if you're that type of person, there's some cool things you can do with it. For example, you can use this ETF to hedge against the losses of short term to increase your deployment deployable USD. What that means is, and I'm not recommending, I don't think anyone would recommend you stay in this for a long term, especially as we're looking like we are closer to the bottom than a lot of people want to say. But, you know, one of the suggestions I even think T-Shroom put in here in the notes is that he would recommend, if you end up going this route, not really holding this for any longer than 3 days, but you can continue to trade your spot and pick up capital so that when you add to that USD cash, you can then flip the script and have that cash. Those of you who are asking, Jebb, I spent all my cash on the side. Tim, I spent all my cash on the side. Where am I getting this money to buy the dip? Well, this is one more tool that as you educate yourself and as you do your research and as you learn more about, when you feel comfortable, not a YouTuber said it's a good idea, not this expert over here said it. When you feel confident about this, this is one more tool to add to create some cash on the side so that when you feel comfortable with the bottom, that's your time to go on and go all in. But again, that's not for everybody. And it is something, here's another thing, this is a key detail I want to make sure people understand. This is a little bit outside of the DeFi thought because you cannot just go on and do this yourself. You are going to have a broker to be able to do it.
That's
but
true.
It is one more tool in the toolbox to plan. And again, that is the big thing that people need to talk about. When you're sitting in a spot that you are stressed out, when you don't know what you're doing, the best thing to do is to stop and pause. Like when people are lost and they're driving around town, the best thing to do when you're lost is to stop. Stop driving. Stop moving. Stop where you are and try to recalibrate. If you do not have a plan right now, if you did not think through what you were going to do if the price does X, stop. Don't just FOMO into the market because you see the price is rallying. Don't FUD out because you see the price is dropping. What is your plan? Do some research. Invest in your education so that you are prepared. And even if you don't get the full profits of it this bear market, guess what you're going to do? You're going to learn so much so that the next time we have the top of a bull market or the next time we have the bottom of a bear market, you are prepared because you've begun to develop your plan. And we do not want to just make it out to everybody, hey, just buy and hold Bitcoin, never sell. The truth is, some people need to have portfolios where they sell. Some people are going to be in a spot where they feel comfortable with it and they can short the market. It's all about you as the individual. What is your toolbox and what is your plan and how educated are you to carry out that plan?
Absolutely. So, guys, how do we benefit from this downside? I would encourage all of you to think about dollar cost averaging because if you're able to go in through the market, say every Friday I'm going to buy a little bit, every 30th I'm going to buy a little bit. If you dollar cost average through this bottom, then you're going to stop worrying so much about whether the bottom is in or not. That worry about whether or not the bottom is in, and we've been talking about this all show. You worrying about when the bottom is in is one of the things that's going to drive a lot of your FUD. Stop worrying about when the bottom's in. It's going to get in eventually. Just have confidence. Have faith in that, guys. And you know, what it really boils down to is a lot of people are scared that the bottom is going to be lower than they want it to be. You got to let that go. You got to walk in faith that it's all going to be okay as far as crypto. Now, there's a chance that the sun could explode tomorrow and the world is going to end, and that will happen eventually.
At that point, crypto's not really relevant.
But at that point, crypto isn't really that relevant when the tribulation starts because we're all going to be scrounging for food in caves below the rocks. You know, it's just not going to matter at that point. That's like saying, oh, well, what happens if the internet goes down? What happens to your Bitcoin? Well, what happens to society? Are we going to be worried about our money? Or are we going to be worried about like food? And do we know how to discern what berry is not going to be poisonous? That's what we're going to be worried about. So stop worrying so much. Don't worry about tomorrow, for today's troubles are enough for today. That's at the end of Matthew 6. It's an important one. Stop worrying about it so much. That's good advice for anybody. Stop worrying so much about what tomorrow brings because today's troubles are enough for today. I encourage you to find peace.
Well, let's transition into some super chats. We probably will run a little bit long today because we also have to do price predictions, and we're going to be quick with that one. Big Hands Dan said, Crypto Jebb team is amazing. Keep it up, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Big
Appreciate
Hands
that.
Dan. Tom Wilkes said, good morning, team. As good as Jebb and the team are, there is no way they or anyone can tell exactly where/when the bottom will be. We as investors should choose our own entry price that works for us. Yes, Tom, that's absolutely it. But again, if you don't have a plan put in place and if you have not thought through what that plan looks like, it's going to be really, really stressful and hard to actually act on those at all times. Juan, and we'll make more videos, just so you guys know, we will make more videos helping you guys dissect how to make your own plan. We're not going to give you a plan for you. We will help give you the tools to make it for yourself. Juan IL said, love your show. Keep it up. Keep it up in the Bears. You should interview Bram Cohen, creator of P2P Torrent Protocol and creator of Chia Blockchain, 85% up in the 7 days. Okay, that's interesting. Cool. Go on. Have to keep that one noted. Bonilla420. Bonilla, I don't know that one. What's up? Thoughts on Near and AVAX? Are they long-term holds as I'm looking to accumulate other alts?
AVAX, I think, is a decent hold for the bear market. Be careful with that though, because You really want to stick to just a couple of coins in the bear market, so choose very wisely there. What was the other one? I haven't heard of that. Nia?
Let me know. Near?
Near.
Oh, you've
Near
heard of
protocol.
Near, yeah.
Near protocol. I know what you're talking. I thought you said Nia. I didn't hear the
Near.
R in that.
Near.
Near, I'm not as familiar with. I don't hold any Near protocol. I'm not saying it's a good project. Not saying it's a bad project. I'm not very familiar with it, so I can't weigh in on that.
Last one we have here, at least that I see. Elliot Locke said, if/when Bitcoin goes down, could there be a Bitcoin level that would be unrecoverable? Question was asked on another channel. If so, could/would an altcoin be able to take the reins? So pretty much, is there a price of Bitcoin that is like, oh, that's not going to recover from that? That's actually the official death of Bitcoin.
I mean, it could happen. It's extremely unlikely. Yeah. I don't put any stock in that, or any Bitcoin in that for that matter. But it's possible, but it's very unlikely.
I think people need to understand right now, even in the space, from the government, from the way regulation is going to look, Bitcoin isn't the concern. Now, the price of Bitcoin is going down. I think people want to see regulational clarity come, but it's the altcoin space that there's a lot of fear and unknowns about. What is the SEC going to do? What is commodities going to do? How are they going to be regulated? How are they going to be utilized? There's a place for both of them. But honestly, right now, Bitcoin isn't the one that I think crypto enthusiasts should be afraid of. It's the altcoins. Right. How many are going to survive? How many will be called securities? How many are not going to be called securities? That's the question we need answers to moving forward.
That's right.
But let's go ahead and transition here, and let's go ahead and do our Bitcoin predictions. I was the winner last week. I hold the HODL trophy. It is sitting right here. Boom, beautiful. It's back on my desk. I love it. Love having it. But that means I also have to go first, which is good because I get my pick of the litter. But it also means that I can be strategically
sniped.
Yeah. So, when I'm looking at the charts earlier, I do believe this dead cat bounce has some weight to continue. Unless I see a news article and a new breaking piece of information come to press us to the downside, I do believe that we could see some uptick here in the next couple of days. So I'm going to actually say 22,500 for my Bitcoin price on Friday.
Interesting. Who should go next?
Smay's next.
Smay's next? Okay.
Yes.
Let's hear Smay.
I would like to put in my prediction at $17,000.
You're joking.
Coming back down.
Okay. $18,000.
All right. Boom. I was worried I was going to get trapped.
No, I was worried I feel
bad
bad for Smay because I was going to say 17.5 or 8.
Yeah.
He said that. I'm like, oh, Smay. I'm sorry.
No, I like being on the...
Well, we are very much Bitcoin sitting in a spot where there's a lot of unknowns.
I like being on the bottom.
Going.
Because...
So, yeah.
Well, because, look, all I'm saying is I actually think it's going to go lower, so I said 17. But I think we're going to see this week when we go past 17.
Yeah, my reason is I right now there's not a whole heck of a lot of volume, but the price is moving up, and there's not really any heavy resistance until you get to that $22,000 area, and it's not really strong resistance there either. It just might be enough to slow it down, and we'll see. Things also take a lot longer. That's my other thought, is that things take longer. I think we'll see 17,000 again. Just who knows when.
Guys, if you enjoyed today's stream, make sure to smash that like button. Let's get up to 800 likes before we wrap it out. Thank you very much to all 1,800 people watching and everybody who tuned in during this show. Make sure that you join the club. What club? Club DeFi. Why? Because we've been working on it for 2 years, and it is the #1 educational platform in the entire cryptocurrency space with hundreds of videos. There's about 96 right now. We have a bunch more in the works. There are dozens of videos they're working on being edited right now. We've got a lead time. There's more content coming out all the time. We've got office hours, which is where our teachers come on, and they actually teach you guys on a one-on-one basis, not on a one-on-one basis, but on a class and a personal basis. What you guys need to know. You can ask questions. They will give you answers. We're going to have one-on-one coaching going live relatively soon. That's why I tripped up on that. We also have a Discord server that's very vibrant. We have a lot of great people over there. There's a spot in the Discord server where people give their introduction. There are probably about 50 different introductions over there where people have told their story, their testimony, if you will, about their journey in the cryptocurrency space, and people are talking about Club DeFi over there all the time. We've even got on the website. You go to clubdefi.com/join-the-club. You can see some of our testimonials down there. Make sure that you sign up for Club DeFi. It's only $30 a month. That is going to give you the tools and the community that you need to go forth and become successful in crypto. Because make no mistake, there is plenty of money to make during a bear market, but you got to know how to do it because it is a little bit harder. It does take a little bit more skill than in a bull market when you can just buy anything and it's going to go up. You do need to know what you're doing. And Club DeFi was built based on based on collectively over 10 years experience in the cryptocurrency space between all of our team, even more than that actually with Kelly, so more like 15, 20 years of collective experience to bring you everything that you need to know to succeed in crypto. Make sure to also like this video, like I said, subscribe to the channel, follow us on all of our social media at CryptoJebb, over on Instagram and Twitter at CryptoJebbOfficial, over on TikTok, and also make sure to follow Tim at Tims_TA, right?
Yeah, Tims_TA.
And also Smay, where can we find you?
Smay Nakamoto on Twitter.
Boom. So guys, make sure to follow us over there. We got a lot of content coming out today, this week, and on into the future. That's all we got for you today, though. Before we go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Oh, I got a real good feeling.